You can go to the internet, you can look up anything, you've got content. How do you really make that content sparkle and ensure that people will leave a site and come to where they want to go with a piece of content? You know, you're right, you can produce so much content, but how do we solve that challenge as an industry?
I mean, I think it's really difficult. I think there's two things that I feel it's rooted in, and that's an understanding of a KPI around a content campaign, or to take that further, a campaign, because I think what potentially we don't do enough as an industry actually is really interrogate briefs, because I still see briefs that come to me and say we want content, and they don't really clarify why, or why that's better than doing a brand ad, or a piece of out of house or whatever it is. And I think an understanding of why you're making content and how that helps a kind of fundamental business and communication strategy for a brand.
Less so from the perhaps publisher point of view, but I mean, it wasn't that long ago that the word content didn't really mean anything. And arguably maybe we're still not there, but it's not that surprising me that the briefs are unclear, because people are still only just starting to wrap their heads around, what is this content thing? What can it do for me? What proportion of my marketing budget should go towards it? What KPI should I expect to come off the back of it? How do I measure ROI? There really aren't very good metrics out there yet to measure ROI from a broad content perspective versus programmatic or TV or radio and so on. So it is interesting. And
I think whilst there are a lot of advertising dollars being spent, but let's face it, Google and Facebook are taking most of them. But we're still seeing squeezes on budgets, and content partners in particular and agencies are getting asked to do more. They're getting asked to tick more boxes. But I think when you're trying to make strong content that resonates with an audience, ticking every single box on a brief is potentially not the best way to do it, because it ends up with a kind of blanket answer that actually doesn't really affect anyone.
I would agree. I think you have to be bold enough to draw out a thread that's relevant, that's compelling, that sort of offers up a lot of opportunity for research. You have to be brave enough to sort of put your head above the parapet and not just try and tick all the boxes, just to find one little gold nugget at the heart of it that's going to give you a really fascinating story, whatever it's about, whether it's about business trends, lifestyle trends, whatever, and expand on that, create something original that people haven't seen before. There are no new stories, but you can always, if you've got the quality of research and storytelling, whether it's video, a podcast, or an article, you can make something fantastic if you've got, if you're bold enough to go for it and to tell your client why you think that's the way to go. It's it's exciting.
As a content studio, I think you have to have that courage of conviction around why you're doing something, and whilst the sales part of the organisation will hate me for saying it, you have to be able to say no to things, and if something doesn't work, you shouldn't try and build something on that shifting sand, but be honest enough to say, look, that piece doesn't work for us, but we can own this section here and produce something that we think works for what you're trying to do.
Well, that's it. I think there are some sort of more from the brand point of view. I think there are some kind of fundamental, if you like, rules of thumb that you can try and follow as a brand to get better in this space. I mean, doing things more quickly. So traditionally, to get an ad campaign signed off took months, and that just doesn't work if you're, as a brand, having to behave more like a publisher. But sort of not only just doing, it's not speed for speed's sake, it's sort of speed that matches the intention, that matches the strategy. So you're sort of in that velocity kind of space. You're creating assets that can be easily atomized and broken down to fit different channels at different time points for different target audiences, so that you're not fully meeting 100% personalization, but you're doing it on the consumer's terms. You're creating serialized content, so it's not a matter of, to exaggerate for effect, hitting a consumer over the head 12 times with the same TV spot.
Yes.
It's a matter of maintaining their interest while still having consistency of messages. It's making your content so that it actually has a chance of being pushed out by others. I won't use the viral word, I just did, but giving it some degree of virality so that it gets pushed out. And clearly a lot of it depends on your brand and your brand strategy and your overarching business objectives and so on. But those are just some rules of thumb. I'm sure there are others as well that can really help you, I think, be a more effective content-driven brand in 2019.